Super Media Bros Podcast is a founding member of the OddPods Media Network. Welcome to the Super Media Bros Podcast, where two best friends give comedically informative takes on movies, music, pro wrestling, and more. I'm Richie.
I'm Devin.
This is Santa Media Bros 2023, and it's episode 303, Cult Cinema Saturday. We're talking about Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, directed by Henry Selick.
It wasn't Tim Burton?
Nope.
But Tim Burton wrote it, right? Like he wrote the script.
The story came from Tim Burton. The screenplay was from Caroline Thompson.
Did he write the music?
Pretty sure he didn't.
What the fuck did he do, Richie?
Conceptually speaking, this is his idea. But a slew of other sons of bitches made this thing come to life. How did you feel about this movie when you first saw it? And hell, when did you first see this movie?
Oh, God. Okay, so the first time I watched it, it's very unfair to say. Weirdly enough, I don't think it was on Disney Channel at the time. Because, I mean, history tells us that it's always been a Disney movie as it is. But for the longest time, it wasn't distributed as such. It was Touchstone. I might be wrong. Somebody older than me might say, no, that didn't happen. You were just a kid with a bad memory. I want to say it was on ABC Family.
There's a very big possibility that happened because ABC Family, that's a Disney Channel. It's a Buena Vista thing.
Is it? Okay, because it was like the 25 Days of Christmas movie marathon that they do every year.
Absolutely.
And I didn't even watch the full thing. I walked in on it in my bedroom. My TV upstairs was much smaller than the living room one. So I had all my gamings all done downstairs. But I ended up going upstairs to just hang out, and it was on. If memory serves me, it was whenever Sally was stitching herself up after like the fall and everything. And I remember like walking in and I'm looking at it, and I knew of the movie. Like I saw the scenery and I recognized what it was, but I was like, the fuck is this? Like I knew that it was Nightmare Before Christmas, but I was like, isn't this like a kid's movie? What is going on? And I was enthralled by it. I watched the rest of it there. If I had to guess, maybe 8 years old-ish, something like that. First time I watched it in full, though, wasn't until like another year or two. But fuck.
That absolutely tracks with your age, because probably right around that time was the 10th anniversary of the film. Because it was like 2003, around like 2003, 2004 for you, right? Roughly, maybe?
Probably, yeah. Sounds about right.
So, because the movie came out in October of 1993. And, dude, like I was there when it came out. I vividly remember watching this like religiously in my family's video store whenever I was a kid. I can smell the inside of that store and remember having like Pizza Hut delivered to the motherfucker for our whole family and just grabbing a slice of pizza and watching this movie a lot because it was so new. And I thought it was so fucking fascinating. Like I had seen like California Raisins and like a bunch of stop motion and a bunch of like, shit like that. However, when this came out, there was nothing like it to me. And I say they don't make this shit like they used to because they really don't make it like they used to. I think the closest thing recently that I have seen similar to this, not being a Tim Burton thing, Phil Tippett's Mad God, which was a 30-year journey.
I've not seen this. I'll look into it.
Yeah, please do. It's great. It's on Shudder.
Okay.
It's Phil Tippett's the guy that did some of the effects work on Jurassic Park, and this is like a stop motion. Like I don't want to spoil much about it.
Right.
It's fucking fantastic, but definitely check it out.
It's so funny that this movie, though, got a resurgence years and years later because, like, as a kid, it was this weird thing of like, yeah, I know of this movie. It's like urban legend, you know, like it got popular after I was already an established child. So it was almost like this murky, like, when did this movie come out? And I was like, I don't know, like 3 years ago? Like, no, not at all.
Yeah, that's how cult films work, everybody out there. That's like word of mouth, popular, like didn't get a lot of love at first. And then there are some that are just instantly like instant cult classics, but like this movie, it's like the merchandising in the home release itself and people watching it on physical home media and cosplaying and hell, I think some bootleg merch even probably fucking resurrected this.
That checks out as well, because I remember working at the dollar store at one point. Motherfucker, we had like Jack Skellington shirts. Do you remember the black one with his face on it?
Oh, how could I fucking forget?
My brother in Christ, I had that shirt for many years. Ask me if it had a Disney tag. It did not.
Yeah.
Did it even have like the imprint on the back of the shirt? No. On the price tag? No. No, that was not a trademarked shirt.
And it's funny to say that because Disney themselves, like we'll get into the movie proper like a little bit here and there because like I think everybody out there listening to this episode has seen this movie. And if you haven't, get out from underneath the rock that you've been living under. The fact that it took Disney well over 10 years to be like, you know, maybe we should have put our name on this motherfucker to begin with.
And it's really weird. Like, there was so much that went on into, obviously, the making of it, the writing process, everything, but just the actual distribution part. Like, this almost didn't even get released after it was nearly finished. And even though, you know, I joked about, like, oh, so wait, if Tim Burton didn't write it, didn't do the music, didn't blah, 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 what did he do? Honestly, like, yeah, conceptually it was his, but really it was, I don't want to, like, minimize his contributions to this project, but is it fair to say that it was really just a marketing ploy?
Yeah, by Disney. Yeah, for sure. Because if you look at the time in which it came out, I don't think this movie, and again, I really full-heartedly mean this, during the time that it came out, Tim Burton just had a successful run from like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Beetlejuice, Batman, was working on Batman Returns concurrently like with this film. I don't think The Nightmare Before Christmas becomes as cult classic as it does without Tim Burton's name being attached at the top.
So let me ask you this then, as an almost reverse question to that statement. How different do you think it would be if he did write and direct it?
You've seen Corpse Bride, right?
Okay, fair enough.
I think that's what happens. Like, that's what happens when you get to direct your own shit. Even Frankenweenie.
Which, that's the thing. They're not as good and special to me as Nightmare Before Christmas, but still excellent films.
And I think that's largely to do with the fact that the people that worked on this movie had their own personal shit attached to it. Like if you think about how Danny Elfman has talked about singing as Jack Skellington, like writing the music and lyrics and composition and shit, he was writing about himself as kind of wanting out of the spotlight because he was growing tired of being a singer and just the whole thing. I mean, Danny Elfman famously is was the singer of Oingo Boingo, which that band is a cult band itself where like, you know who they are. Like, if you know who Danny Elfman is, like, you know who Oingo Boingo is, but I can guarantee you, I can ask like 20 people, who's Oingo Boingo? And maybe half of them know. Maybe.
Yeah, dude, I'm thinking about like my generation. I don't think maybe 1 out of 50, you know, like And that's just an age thing, you know, that's nobody's fault. But no, it was very niche, you know, and he comes in to help make this movie that, by all intents and purposes, should have been even more niche. Like, and that's the thing. One of my favorite Christmas movies ever. Okay, one of my favorite movies, period. But they even admitted whenever they were making this movie and everything, and the first little test screening was with a bunch of children, and they were almost confused. Like, they didn't know what to make of this. Like, the studio didn't think that it was going to even be a hit. Because you do watch it, and it's kind of like, well, okay, who is this for exactly? Is this a kid's movie? Is it not? What? Like, really think about it. Okay, it's rated PG. Something that Disney wanted no part of at the time. Why is it PG?
Are you asking me like why I think it's PG, or are you asking like legitimately why is it rated PG?
Legitimately, because okay, the whole like self-stitching thing. Okay, fair enough, I guess, but there's really nothing explicit in this movie whatsoever.
PG doesn't necessarily mean explicit. PG is parental guidance, suggested. Like, you wouldn't leave a young child that is extremely impressionable or probably has nightmares that come easy to him. You probably wouldn't leave him with this movie. Because I say this, 30 years removed from the initial release. When I first watched this, I was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was also watching A Nightmare on Elm Street at 7 years old. I knew what fiction was. I knew what was real and what was not real. However, give it to a 7-year-old with a very overactive imagination and who is easily frightened. There are some visuals in this movie that I could see giving people nightmares. Like Oogie Boogie Man is nightmare fuel on his own. Like he's like a baghead character.
Right, yeah.
Then in the opening, This Is Halloween, like you have some of the characters who are like, I am the creature under your stairs, and like that whole fucking sequence is like, okay, there's some shit here that looks grotesque and macabre, and I love that shit, but I absolutely understand like parental guidance suggested being a thing for this. And it was the 90s, like early 90s. I know Disney was sitting there like Renaissance era. Hey, we've got Little Mermaid. We've got Beauty and the Beast. We've got Aladdin. We're about to release The Lion King. Do we really want to put our Disney stamp on this? So that's the whole Touchstone Pictures thing. That's the whole, who is this for? Probably preteen, teenagers, young adults. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's probably who it's for.
But even though, like, I understand it was the 90s, but I also got to throw a little bit of shade at Disney because y'all bitches were fucking real quick to say, look, we think this might be able to make money, it might not, but we're going to distance ourselves from it. Now, 30 years removed, it's like, no, we love this movie. Come here, bub. Come here, baby. Come here.
Puts their arm around it. It's like, hey, you can have some dessert. You can sit at the table with us and you can have some dessert. You can, you know what I mean? Like,
Sally, you're a Disney princess. Fuck you.
I know that's
y'all ain't shit for that. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Some jank ass bullshit right there, man.
I gotta agree. It's some fuck shit. It really is some fuck shit to pull on a movie like this. Disney's not going to be like, hey, we were wrong. Disney's going to be like, no, we always loved this movie. Like, they do that with everything, though.
And the thing is like, from all of the reports, like, they were concerned about, okay, will kids like this? They were nervous about it. They were apprehensive. But in terms of, like, test footage for the executives and everything, everybody said from day one, no, this is actually incredible. This is a great movie. We just don't know what to do with it.
I think Hot Topic knew what to do with it.
Oh, dude, Hot Topic. They understood the fucking, the mission here.
Yeah, they understood the assignment. They understood the target audience, which, because, like, think about this. Like, for me, at least.
Yeah.
how weird it was to have always loved this movie and then come across people that were like you, where like they had to discover it later on, which obviously like you're younger than I am, but like seeing people my age go into Hot Topic during Homecoming season in 2003 and seeing them put out like, hey, here's some small merch. That's cool. 2004 rolls around. Oh, there's a little bit more. Okay. Graduates high school. 2005 rolls around. Then you get like, we're getting into the era of like Nightmare Before Christmas Revisited, where it's all these bands covering the music from this movie. Yeah. And you're just like, obviously the influence and the culture has always been there for this movie. The fact that everybody and their mother knew this before the fucking studio that made it is bullshit. Like, I'm not saying we were bullshit for that, but like, fuck Disney for that. For real, dude.
Dude, and just think, like, what if Tim Burton didn't sell the rights to Disney? What if he was able to bring it to Warner Brothers? How different history would be, you know? Like,
I wonder how much, like, you definitely brought up a great point there. Like, how much darker would it have been? Because, like, think about how Warner Brothers gave this man free reign with, like, Beetlejuice and fucking Batman.
Yeah.
Especially Batman Returns. Holy shit, that's my favorite of the two Burton Batman films.
Same, actually.
He got real dark with that shit. So I know this was like a kids, quote, kids thing, or like he was, you know, wanting to portray it with stop motion, which again is a lost art form all on its own. But like, imagine that movie being very dark and then kids being like, hey, I want to see this. And then like it's like the whole thing that happened whenever South Park came out and like the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
Believe this or not, people were actually at the box office with their kids, taking them to see this and not knowing fuck all about what they were about to take them in to see.
Did they not see not even the show? I'm talking like the movie poster itself.
Nobody fucking cared. They saw animation and like, oh, this is going to theaters. I can take my kids. Because there are parents out there that have no clue what's happening like cartoon-wise, but they see a poster and they're like, hell yeah, I can take my kid to see this in the theater. Same probably would have applied here. This movie didn't bomb, but it also didn't do that great. So I think, again, the perception, I think, is what hurt it initially. However, it found its footing on home release, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, because we're sitting here in 2023 talking about a movie that came out in 1993.
Right.
Which we'll get into the movie proper, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Once upon a time.
Boring.
It was the best of times. It was the worst.
You got that right.
What's your problem?
We want new stories.
Hi, it's Frankie.
And Garrett. And we host the Ever Trending Story, a weekly podcast where we bring to life a fictional story created by our own minds and some of the hottest, craziest trends from the internet.
Find us wherever you download podcasts, and be sure to join the fun on social media at EverTrendingPod.
So getting into the movie proper, the motherfucker made $101.2 million at the box office altogether, which I think this is also from re-releases and probably home release too.
I was about to say, because like,
I think it only made half of this on its initial
I was about to say, because I feel like if it cost $24 million and it made $100 million in 1993, I feel like that's a pretty good little run there.
Yeah, because I mean, well, if you think about it, the movie it was a sleeper hit. Like, right. it really was. Like, cult classic, yes. Sleeper hit at the box office, yes. It definitely made like $50 million, like when it first had come out. But if you think about how many reissues and like re-releases it's had, because it's had one, it had one in 06, 07, 08, 09, and then again in 2020, and then again this year. It keeps increasing. They're basically doing what James Cameron is doing with fucking Titanic and Avatar. They're just like, hey, man, just keep fucking spewing this bitch out, which I don't blame them. You can pump this fucker out at Halloween and in Christmas every year. And guess what? People will turn out in droves.
And kind of like the whole Avatar and Titanic thing, I can't even be mad because, I mean, shit, if you keep re-releasing this and it keeps making money, then why wouldn't you? Probably doesn't cost you that much to re-release something.
No, not at all. I mean, because they don't have any marketing to earn back is what it is. Like, they have the money to fucking blow. So
I can't be mad. Like, fuck it.
Right. So the movie itself deals with a character named Jack Skellington, who is the Pumpkin King of Halloween Town. And to make a long story short, because I don't want to go beat by beat, he's tired of the same shit every year, basically. Like, because if you think about how Christmas and Easter and many other holidays are, there's longevity. You know, traditionally, there's longevity. Halloween is always kind of like regarded by people that just don't like Halloween as like, it's one day a year, fuck it. Not for, bro, if you love Halloween, every day is motherfucking Halloween.
Oh,
okay?
For sure, yeah.
So Jack Skellington is tired of the same fucking thing every year, and he's longing for something more. So while wandering in the woods, he comes across like all these doors, and I thought that was like a really neat visual, how every one of these doors were on a tree, and you could tell what holiday it was. Like, there was an Easter one, there was a Christmas one, St. Patrick's Day, Thanksgiving, Independence Day, like all these random fucking holidays.
I love how easy to digest that is, by the way.
Yeah, me too. I'm a big visual storyteller person. Like, I love a good like Tarantino script. I love a good Kevin Smith dialogue film. However, the little art fucker in me just loves when I don't need anything spoken to me. I can just look at it and be like, hey, I get this.
You would never want to do this because the music in this movie is classic, but the story is simple enough to follow to where you could watch it on mute and you could probably decipher maybe 85% of the movie.
Hell, I think you could probably just watch it with the music only.
Yeah, just as an actual, like, just listen to the soundtrack.
And there's some great songs there. This whole soundtrack fucks like so hard. Like, when he gets to Christmas Town, what's this? Like, that is, I say that is like, hey, that's the musical number, but like, This Is Halloween is also the musical number. Hey, Making Christmas is, there's a lot of good shit in here. But I love when he gets there to Christmas Town. Because, I mean, wouldn't you have, like, the same reaction if you all, like, if you saw this shit for the first time? Like, think about the first time that you ever, I say this phrase because it's very childlike, and I could picture a kid saying it just like this. Remember the first time you, quote, saw Christmas?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the first time we all saw Christmas, it's a commercial. It's the Christmas lights on houses. It's the little construction paper projects you did in school.
Right.
It's the cartoons. It's the television specials. It's the fire in the fireplace.
It's the little glass, like 1 inch tall figurines that your great-great-grandma had out with like the fucking cotton all over the table to simulate snow.
Yep. The little knickknacks, the advent calendars, like the whole shebang. This is Jack Skellington basically like absorbing everything, but the entire fucking town just lives Christmas 24/7, it seems. There is a funny parody of this exact scene online that's great, and I still love it to this day. Have you seen it where it's somebody that overdubs it, and he's like looking down, and the music starts, you know, and he's just like in awe, and you just hear this head voice, and he's like, the fuck is this?
I have seen that, yeah.
I love that one so much. The fuck, there's white shit everywhere. The fuck, there's white shit in the air. The fuck, like just the whole thing. So I can't see this without hearing that anymore, but I digress. He gets obsessed with this place, and he's like, you know, I kind of want to say fuck Halloween this year, and I want to take over Christmas for Christmas Land. And who's that jolly fat bastard in the red robe? That's Santa Claus. And I love the childlike nature in which he says it. It's supposed to be a mistake where it's funny, and also it fits in with Halloween Town. Like, wouldn't you want to meet somebody named Sandy Claus? Like, fingernail? Like, that's appealing to these fuckers, right?
It is, yeah. Especially because Santa Claus in this movie is kind of like, I wouldn't call him morbid, but you could tell that he had a little bit more of a, I feel like he holds on to grudges a little bit more than the traditional Santa. He seems a little curmudgeon. Just not bad, not in a cynical way, but he's got a little bit more like angst to him.
He's getting too old for this shit is what it is, man. He's got that like old man shakes fist at the sky attitude. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Jack brings the idea to Halloween Town. And he's like, hey, like here's what you do with like Christmas carols, and this is the job of an elf, and this is how you wrap presents, and there are these creatures that pull the sled that Santa Claus rides on, and like all this shit. But Sally, who is the female protagonist of this movie, is a creation by Dr. Finkelstein, who is voiced by William Hickey, who is most notably Uncle Lewis in Christmas Vacation. So I always laugh when I hear his voice come out of Dr. Finkelstein. I can just picture him looking at Sally when Christmas comes to Halloween Town. They want you to say grace. The blessing.
Well, shit, isn't Captain Spaulding old boy in Halloween Town?
What, Sid Haig?
Yeah, fucking conehead looking motherfucker with the megaphone.
You talking about the mayor?
Yeah.
No, that's Glenn Shaddix, my dude.
My brother in Christ, it sounds just like him.
Could you imagine?
That's why I was rewatching it, and I was like, is that him? That sounds like him. Yo, that's crazy. How did I not notice?
This is Rob Zombie's Nightmare Before Christmas, okay?
Dude, you know what? I would pay great money to see that shit.
All the songs are metal as fuck.
Bruh. I feel like, no, that's the Warner Brothers movie we would... No, the Universal. Give us that, dude.
That would be some shit. That would really be some fucking shit, dude.
And you know he loves this movie, too. I've never heard him say it in an interview, but I know he does.
Look, if this dude loves the Munsters as much as he did enough to like make that movie as well as it was, I know he's got to have a soft spot for this somewhere. There's no way he doesn't. But anyway, Jack Skellington is like, hey, we need to kidnap Santa Claus so that like, you know, just hold him here until I finish Christmas. So he contacts Lock, Shock, and Barrel, who are these little, and I really mean this, like these little bastard motherfuckers who just, their reputation precedes them, really. If you look at how the townsfolk look at these kids, it's just like, what the fuck? And another long story short with this is he asks him to go get Santa Claus, but to not give him to Oogie Boogie Man, who you don't really know who the fuck this guy is, but just from the way they talk about him, they're like, nah, this motherfucker's bad news. And he's pretty much somebody that likes to play, like he's got an addiction to gambling, but it's in the weirdest fucking way. He likes to gamble, but at the cost of somebody's life. It's pretty fucking... Like,
yeah, when you word it like that, yeah.
It's pretty fucking Harvey Two-Face of you there, buddy. Which, don't you think it's funny, like, a little sidetrack here, don't you think it's fucking hilarious that the mayor is Two-Face? Like, it's kind of a poke at politicians, really.
It really... Dude, you're right. The older I get, the greater this movie is.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's fucking funny. But Jack fucking comes up with all this shit. Like, he enlists the doctor, the scientist, to give him, like, these fucking reindeer. And he's going to have Zero, his ghost dog, like, lead the charge as his own personal Rudolph. Because he's like, hey, man, I need somebody with a bright fucking nose. You're bright. You're dead. Float. Fucking lead my goddamn skeletal reindeer into the fucking country to give fucked up presents to kids. And I loved all the sequences where everybody's like, hey, let's make all these presents. And it's all these like really dark, macabre fucking things being wrapped in boxes. It's like, can you just like imagine somebody with one of the fucking like, you know, Jack in the Boxes whenever the fucker springs out, as if a clown isn't scary enough. There's like a severed head on the motherfucker.
Dude.
You know what I mean? Like that's the shit they're doing in this fucker. They're about to ruin the shit out of Christmas for a bunch of kids. Even though they think they're improving it, it's not being improved.
Well, it's so funny because you think about this, and before this scene, Jack just stood in like at the top of his little castle thing and what looked like a makeshift lab and just tried to study Christmas in such a like deep and complex way, like trying to understand each minute detail, but just wasn't getting it. Whereas Sally just brought him a gift whenever he was struggling the most and he needed it. And it's like, she just instinctively understood the meaning of Christmas. Like, I don't know. There was just something wholesome about that.
Yeah, and I think that also lends itself to her character, how she was created in a lab, but she's inherently good.
Yeah.
In a town full of this stuff, she's inherently a good person. Not that nobody there is, good, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because really, Oogie Boogie is the only one that's inherently bad. Everybody else just means well. They just don't do well.
Yeah, and they're not even malicious with what they don't
that's,
do.
That's just their culture.
Right, exactly. Because, yeah, she has a vision of, like, the whole thing going bad because the little miniature Christmas tree she holds, like, it torches, and she's like, fuck. Like, she's worried about Jack and has a thing for him, obviously. I know we're skipping over a lot of shit here, but like I said, like, y'all have all seen this fucking movie. Like, I love that when he's finally flying out, to drop the presents off and shit, that he causes such chaos with just the gifts that the fucking military is called in to shoot him out of the fucking sky.
That was the scene where, as a kid, I was like, the fuck? I walked in on this movie and this girl is like dismantling her own body. And then I come here. What is this? Like, at no point did I dislike the movie, even as a kid. I was just confused. I was like, this feels like, am I supposed to watch this? I don't know. I wasn't sure.
Parental guidance suggested.
I know, but like, I don't know.
It's funny. That's the funniest thing.
Because it's like, there was nothing in it that was bad or wrong or inappropriate. It was just like, as a kid, you're so used to these things being so sanitized. It's like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
I get that. And to that point, it seems like a lot of the curtains were drawn back from our eyes, if you will, with some of the shit portrayed in the movie, which, again, it's 1993 and it's PG. And I feel like a PG rating kind of carried a little more weight back then, because if you think about the fact that they said the fuck word in Beetlejuice, and that is a PG movie.
Dude, that still blows my mind. Like, and people forget that shit.
They really do. Nice fucking model. Love that line, by the way. It's funny as shit.
That's so crazy. Like, I understand that what the context was, so it's not like referring to sexual intercourse, but even still, how did they get away with that?
It was just the one time.
Yeah, but I thought that only accounts for PG-13.
It also depends on context for PG. It's very rare, and that was like the one instance that it happened.
So is it just a matter of like, oh no, all PG movies can do it, they just don't?
Yeah, because I mean, they run the risk of getting a harsher rating at that point too. And plus, like, you have to be very specific with intent and wording. He wasn't telling somebody, fuck you.
Right.
He wasn't using it in a sexual manner. It was, as SpongeBob would put it, is a sentence enhancer.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I'm just like, huh. Because that's another one, too, that if you would have asked me, I'd have said, oh, no, Beetlejuice, PG-13. Easy. Even without that line, I don't know. I just would have assumed.
I know a lot of people think that.
Huh. Mandela effect.
Yeah, and then, believe this or not, there are actually people out there that I've talked to that thought Nightmare Before Christmas was PG-13.
No kidding.
Absolutely.
Just based on the touchstone context?
I think based on the macabre aspect. I know I keep bringing that word up, but like, it really is. Like, it's it's dark for a children's movie. It is dark.
It is. Mandela effect into play. If you were to have asked me what this movie was rated, I really wouldn't know. I'd be like, G, PG? Is it G? I don't know. Like, I really wouldn't have known, but...
Right, because, I mean, if you think about, like, stuff that we watch now that's rated PG, and then G, it's like, this markedly feels tame.
Yeah, like, and again, there's nothing bad in it or inappropriate, or... The only real thing would be, like I keep bringing up, is the self-stitching. And that didn't even bother me or make me uncomfortable. It's just, like, that's the one moment where I'm like, I can see that making some of, like, the MPAA, like, little weary, you know, like, all right, well, you know, like, you might have to negotiate with them, but you could probably have gotten it to be rated G. I don't know, like.
We'll get back into the movie, but, like, speaking of that, the bamboozlement of Disney.
Bro.
Because, like, all the shit that we love about this movie, all the visuals and everything, it's like, dude, if Disney really had their fucking way, we probably wouldn't have gotten half the shit that we get in this movie. The fact that they pitched this, right? So Caroline Thompson, I believe it was her, somebody screened this for the Disney execs. And they're like, oh, we love this. And they still had some, you know, obviously some placeholders and storyboards in certain spots. And they're like, we fucking love this. And she's like, aha. And there's the problem. This is not an $18 million movie. This is a $24 million movie. We need more money. And without the money, you get none of this. You get not this, not that thing over there that you love so much. And definitely not this fucking entire story arc. Bruh.
So, if they had said no for some unbeknownst reason, what would this have even been? Would they have just made it like a TV special that lasted 30 minutes?
They would have had to, because we wouldn't have had fuck all to work with.
Yeah, because the movie's already extremely lean.
What is it, like 75 minutes long? It's like an hour and,
like
I don't know, like an hour and 15, 16 minutes. And that's fucking short. That's including credits, dude.
Yeah, like, it's a very short movie. Also, like, I don't understand why Tim Burton didn't step in a little bit more in order to kind of be like, hey, we shouldn't even have had to have this discussion. Like, for historical purposes, I'm glad it worked out with that story because it's baller as fuck. You finessed Disney into giving you fucking more millions, more dollars. It's awesome. But why didn't they just get Tim Burton, who was on top of the world at the time, to like interject or something?
You want his team?
Yeah.
They were too busy doing what they were told to do by Tim.
Fair enough.
Which is handle it. Because he was too busy. Like, fucker was in a contract with Warner Brothers, like, at the same time trying to do the Batman sequel. And, like, goddamn, it's pretty much like the version of, like, don't talk to me right now, I'm busy.
Mm.
And then, like, when he finally had to, it was just like, oh, God. Like, there are stories about this man attacking an editing machine and kicking holes into walls and shit over either the scripting or the finish of the movie or, like, literally any aspect of it where he wasn't there hands-on. But God damn it, he had a vision nonetheless. And not to take away from Henry Selick, who did a fantastic job delivering this, but like, again, going all the way back, it's got his fingerprints all over it. We would have had a markedly different film had they not fucking bamboozled the shit out of the mouse.
Yeah, like, we wouldn't even be talking about it probably, because if they were to have cut out, like, even if they cut out 10 minutes of it, I feel like so much character development would have been lost that I can't imagine a 10-minute shorter movie, much less a 20 minutes, probably wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, and the fact that even after all this shit, Caroline Thompson wanted to have it reshot for a different like ending, and then like Tim Burton was like, "No, fuck that. We keep the ending that's in here," which we'll get to.
What did they ever report on what her ending would have been?
I don't believe so, but I know that the ending we got was that Jack realizes in being shot down and having everything like go in chaos, he's like, I still got it.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to do some different, ways of doing it, but I still got it. I have the itch again to fucking scare. And he's like, but fuck, I got to make this right. So when he goes back to Halloween Town, man, Santa Claus and Sally, who was trying to save him, are in the clutches of Oogie Boogie Man. And we get to the finale, which it's a little, I kind of expected more, but I also get how they did what they did. So the Oogie Boogie Man is really just a bunch of bugs in a sack that make up his entire being. Jack Skellington throws a thread from him into this machinery that's going in circles, and he unravels and his bugs spew out everywhere. And there's a shot where they're falling into that lava or whatever the fuck that he was going to dump Santa Claus into, and it's just spinning. That's one of the only shots in the movie where I'm like, that is not stop motion. That is, you can tell, that is actually a thing that's happening that people are just dropping shit into. And But anyway, they get saved. Jack apologizes to Santa, and Santa's just like, man, you fucked it up. Without saying it, he's like, you fucked up, bitch. Santa has to go replace all the presents that Jack fucked up in Christmas Land. And then he's got his mojo, if you will, again. So he's back to being the Pumpkin King, and he and Sally express their feelings for each other. And as a gift, and to show there's no hard feelings, Santa Claus brings Snowfall to Halloween Town and gives them a little bit of Christmas spirit. And it's when this happens that the citizens understand what the meaning of Christmas is. And then Jack and Sally have the iconic shot. It's all over a lot of the posters where they're right on that hill or whatever, and that's where they share their kiss and they're singing, and it's the end of the movie. But it's a great shot.
It is.
That's one thing that I did love about this movie for being a stop motion. There's a lot of great shots in this movie, and I think there was a production note where there were to be no right angles in the fucking set designs and shit. Which
that's correct.
That, after learning that, it makes so much sense. You see the architecture, if you will, of all the buildings and all the housing and all of the fences, and nothing is straight across. Everything is very angled and just fucking gothic as shit. What a movie though, for real. Honestly, I'm glad they never have remade this or have tried to reimagine it. It doesn't seem like it needs to be. It's timeless, really.
Right. The only thing that is a nitpick that I would have, and again, this is one of my favorite movies, but honestly, just add 5 minutes, maybe. I feel like there's some things here and there that I would have liked a little bit more of. Is there one thing in particular you would have added a little more of? So, for one, the whole Jack and Sally thing, you get the sense throughout that Sally is into Jack, but I feel like Jack's turn was very sudden.
I don't know. I think maybe he did feel that way, but Jack also kind of has that attitude of sure, he knows what's up with certain shit, but he comes off aloof a lot of the time, really.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is just a little bit more development on that arc. Or, I don't know, maybe you had brought up you felt the ending with Oogie Boogie was a little to you. Do you mean the climactic battle or is it the reveal of what Oogie Boogie is?
I think it's the battle itself. It's not necessarily what Oogie Boogie is, because what he is, that's what makes him kind of frightening and kind of scary and shit. I think for me, it's there's not a lot of action, which I get it. That's a lot to animate.
Oh, dude, I wouldn't want that task.
But I don't think it would have hurt to have a little more balls there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, it would just be the Jack and Sally thing. And then, really that's about it. Just show more of them,
you want their romance a little more fleshed out.
Yes. I would have loved that. And you don't even need a full 5 minutes. You could honestly have done that in 1 to 2 little scenes, you know?
Yeah, and I get that it's supposed to come across like maybe Sally feels like it might be an unrequited love, which it's not. But I also agree with what you're saying. Like, I would love to have seen that too.
Because they're so sweet.
Yeah, and there's enough story going on elsewhere that it wouldn't have gone like it wouldn't have come across as forced. You know what I mean?
No.
That might have been like the one thing that could have been amplified.
Yeah.
But all in all, goddamn, what a movie though.
Oh, dude, love this movie.
Yeah, it's a staple for me, and I know for you too. This is a staple for Halloween and Christmas, which
I'll watch it every year for both.
Yeah, me too. I've already seen it. Like, normally, like I can watch this, year round. It's fun, but like, we all start watching it more during the holidays. I think I've already seen this movie like 5 times this year, and that's not including the 1,000 other times I've seen this son of a bitch. But yeah, that's Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it came out on October the 13th, 1993. Come back next week. Trevor from the Catching Up on Cinema podcast is going to hang out and talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. I was most recently on his podcast talking about Godzilla -1. Check that shit out. But come here next week, check out his guest appearance on Cult Cinema Saturday.
Are there any spoilers in that review from Godzilla -1?
Absolutely. We spoil the absolute shit out of it.
Okay, I will keep that in mind.
That's right. So... yeah, spoilers abound. After that, we will be, yes, I swear on everything, I am doing it. I will be being as objective as I possibly can to talk about A Christmas Story from Bob Clark, who I think did the best Christmas movie, Black Christmas. Then after that, Devin, you and I are going to sit down and we're going to give the gift of Christmas to everybody for our Christmas Day episode, which is going to be Ernest Saves Christmas.
Let's go.
We actually have a variety, if you will, this entire fucking holiday season. Couple things for the kids, couple things for the nostalgia, and the hot garbage. There's a little bit of everything here.
Yeah. I can seize it.
You can season. Let's get the fuck out of here, man. Everybody out there, listen to past, present, and future episodes on supermediabrospodcast.com. You can go to the show notes below and click a link and go there. You can also click the link on our YouTube channel in the show notes below and subscribe to that shit if you haven't already. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section. What did you love the most about this movie? What was your first time seeing The Nightmare Before Christmas? Is it one of your favorite movies of all time? Could it have been better? Do you not like it? Give us anything in the fucking feedback below. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, and Podchaser. And like we've said before, come back next week for more fun for Santa Media Bros.
Let's do it.
But for right now, we're going to get the hell out of here. And I'm going to go have some motherfucking hot cocoa and marshmallows. I think it calls for it.
Dude, have you gone to a Starbucks and gotten the hot white chocolate?
You know what? Fuck the hot cocoa with marshmallows. Let's go get that.
Dude, it's so fucking good.
All right, let's go.
I bet.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us this week. This was Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, episode 303 on Cult Cinema Saturday. Until next week, I'm Richie.
I'm Devin.
Shades on.
We're off.
Or Slays? Slays on.
Yeah.
Slays on.